Well, good morning. My name is Jason Wick, and I have the best job in the world. I love my job. I love everything that I do. Love working with your students. Your kids are amazing. They're a blessing to me and my wife. I love almost every minute of it. I love it. Tremendous privilege. I love preaching the word. I love hanging out with them. I love going to lunch with them, having them over to our house, play games, talk, get into conversations. Your kids blow me away. The conversations I have with them and the things that they're discovering about God, about our Savior, it just continues to blow me away, and they encourage me and encourage my wife as well. Just so you know a little bit about me, I grew up here in the Antelope Valley. My parents are sitting right over here. Grew up in Lancaster, live in Lancaster now. I have been coming to this church for about 8 years. I met my wife here in this room, youth group, 8 years ago after I got back from an admissions trip to Ecuador. Met her officially here. We always kind of knew of each other growing up, but officially introduced here. I'm married to that girl, and on Tuesday, we will be celebrating our 2-year anniversary together. So that is awesome. So that's a little bit about me. We're going to be going through the book of Ecclesiastes and talking about satisfaction and where we look for satisfaction, the things that tempt us and say, come this way, I will bring you fulfillment, I will bring you satisfaction. And then the conclusion of that where Solomon says, basically, it's only found in God. So as you guys are turning there, let me show you a brief video to introduce the topic.
Take a look. What do you see? Achievement? Success? The rhythm of ambition? We're all born into it. We begin to move to the beat of this world, to enjoy the familiarity of its ebb and flow, to join the masses who shut their eyes and run to keep pace with this life. Stop. Take a closer look. Added success and measured achievement only lead us to the door at the top of the stairs we've climbed. Respect is infamy. Satisfaction becomes discontentment. Vanity of vanity, all truly is vanity. Take a look. What do you see?
And so there we see just a video of life and what we get wrapped up in and the rhythm that we're going through, and we're climbing the stairs searching for satisfaction, searching for something that can quench the cravings and the thirst of our heart, something that at the end of our life we can look back on and say it was worth it because I had this, because I did this, because I accomplished this. And so we climb satisfaction, and satisfaction is very elusive, right? And as we're running up the stairs, we think that ultimate satisfaction is just like one step up. We're like, if I can just climb one more step in whatever area it is, whether it's work, whether it's money, whether it's relationships, whether it's friends, we think if I could just get one more step, just a little bit more, then I would have achieved satisfaction. I can rest. I can put my feet up and say it's done. My life is complete. I have this. But of course, that's never how it works, at least not in my life. Whenever I get something, it's always just temporary satisfaction, right? The computer company Apple drives me crazy because every single year it's a new iPod, a new iPhone, a new computer, right? And I'm like, the one I had was good last year, but this one is nice. Right? And advertising companies understand this. Companies that make things and sell them to us understand this. Toyota doesn't need to make a new Camry every single year, but they do. Because they know that you are never going to stay satisfied with your car now, but you're always going to be looking for what's next, what's to come, what's the next thing I can buy, what's the next thing I can spend my money on, what's the next thing to add to my resume of how good of a person I am, what's the next thing that I can look forward to. We're going through the book of Ecclesiastes with the high schoolers right now on Tuesday night. It's my favorite series that I've ever done. I love every single moment of it. The conversations that flow from that are just amazing. We have small groups every Tuesday night. And a couple Tuesday nights ago, I asked the students in my small group, I said, make the list of things you wanted most last year. And here's a list of the things they came up with. Last year, they wanted a job so they can get money so they can hang out with their friends, right? The kids are always going to the movies. They're always going to out to eat together. They want money to be able to go do things, right? High schoolers, not just like, yeah, there we go. Agree. They also want a car, right? They want a car. It doesn't matter if they're freshmen or they're senior. I want something with 4 wheels. It doesn't matter what kind of car. It doesn't matter the paint color. I don't want to be driving mom's minivan around forever. I want my car. They also want electronics, iPod, right? One of the students, I wanted an iPod so much last year. And then my small group is guys, so girlfriends. They want girlfriends, right? And so I said, okay, now that was last year's list. What about this year's list? And here's what they said. Every single one of them. I was going around the small group and I said, okay, you wanted the iPod. What do you want this year? They came out with a new one. I want that one, right? And every single one of the guys in my small group, high school guys just like girls. That's how they'll get around girls and they just start flustering and their hands are sweaty. And this is just who they are. And so they go and I say, okay, the girl you liked last year, does anyone in the same room still want that girl to be your girlfriend? No. No, they couldn't meet those desires. I wanted something more. One of the students got a car. And I said, okay, what do you want this year? And he's like, well, a better car. I want a better car, right? And then you can go to the college students, and I have a joy of working with the college students as well. And here's their list. They want job and money, right? So they can do things, because when you get to college, it's not just going to the movies anymore, but it's going to LA, and it's gas, and you're driving down to the beaches, and you're doing things down there. It's more expensive. So I need a better job so I can get more money, so I can have more entertainment, so I can do more things with my friends. And every college student wants this. They want that job. And of course, the better car, and it's upgraded now from an iPod. They realize they can't do their homework on those things, and so they want a laptop computer or a new computer. And then, of course, they want a new girlfriend. Post-college, right? They want the new job, more money, a better car, and then it's upgraded from the iPod to the computer, and now they want a house or an apartment or someplace I can live, some other sort of possession, and then they want to get serious, and I want a serious relationship. I want someone that is going to be there. I don't want, a new girl every year. I want someone that there's stability here as well. But you'll notice the trend that everyone wants the same thing. You talk to your kids, they want, either the possessions, they want friends, they want relationships, they want the same thing. And you go all the way to us now. I've been out of college for a couple of years, and some of you have also been out of college for a couple of years. And most of the things we want, if I were to ask you, what do you want? What's next in your life? It would probably be something here on this list. Maybe you have a job, but you're like, I really want more vacation time. I really want a pay increase. I really want a better title. I want a spot closer, a parking spot closer to the front door. I want just a little bit better, right? I'm right here at this level, but happiness and satisfaction is one level up. But the problem is we never reach it. We never reach it and say, I have enough. There's always something more that we are looking for. It's like satisfaction is this mirage, and we're chasing it and chasing it. And the moment we reach out and we think, I have it now, and we grab it, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. We're reaching out for a mist. Solomon says in Ecclesiastes, we've been chasing the wind. We've been running around thinking that satisfaction is here, but as soon as we go to wrap our arms around it, there's wind. There's nothing there. There's nothing to hold on to and think, oh, it's just a little bit further. And we chase again, and we're chasing the wind. And pretty soon, we're running around like crazy people outside chasing the wind. And so satisfaction, it always gives us this momentary taste of pleasure. This momentary taste, right when you first get that iPod, or you first get that car, or you first get that girlfriend, there's this satisfaction of, I have it now. But it always fades. It always fades. And the book of Ecclesiastes is a memoir of a man, King Solomon, who wanted to chase down all of these pleasures. Right? He said, if one wife makes you happy, 700 ought to do it. Like, you're really good now. Right? If one car is good, I'll get 1,000 chariots and spread them throughout my entire kingdom. Then I'll have happiness. And he's climbing the stairs of each and every one of these pleasures, getting the absolute most you can possibly get. Right? He reaches the pinnacle. More than anyone on earth can ever have. Solomon had that. More wives, more money, more power, more pleasures, more friends, more everything. And he reaches the pinnacle and at the top of the staircase, and he opens that door, and he writes to us what he sees, and he says it's garbage. It's nothing. It's meaningless. It's vanity. And he says God has put a craving in our hearts for something that is eternal. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says that he put a craving in our heart that is eternal. And the problem is that we are living in an earth that is passing away, with possessions that are passing away. And none of those things that are not eternal can quench the thirst that we have in our hearts. And so he says it's all meaningless. And the only place you can ever get satisfaction is the Lord. Is the Lord. And so Solomon's conclusion towards the end of the book is very simple. It's very confusing. It's very depressing. And yet it's encouraging at the same time. He says that everything under the sun is meaningless. Everything. Right? So your wife, your job, your car, your money, your possessions, your feelings, all of those things under the earth are meaningless. Okay? That's the confusing and depressing part. But there is a God who is above the sun that gives everything meaning when we fear him. And that's the simple and encouraging thing. And so that's Solomon's conclusion. He says, only in God can we truly be satisfied. But there are some pleasures that try to pull us away from God. And it gets Solomon questioning, and it gets us questioning, is there some other place I can find satisfaction? Ecclesiastes chapter 2 is where we're going to spend our time today. And in the very first verse, Solomon says, I said to myself, go ahead, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy what is good. But it turned out to be futile. It turned out to be futile. So Solomon says, I'm going to go and I'm going to test these things. I'm going to get as many women, as many cars, as many houses, as much money as humanly possible. And I'm going to see if those things bring me satisfaction. If those things fill the hole that is in my heart. And so he goes and he tells us right at the very beginning that it's all futile. The Hebrew word there is havel. And high schoolers, what does that word mean? Oh, come on. What does it mean? Are there my bosses here? Oh, my parents? One more time. What does it mean? Thank you. It means meaningless. 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 It's vanity. It's meaninglessness. It's this chasing after the wind. It's reaching out for vapors or the mirage. There's nothing there to grab onto. One very wise pastor said that the most literal way you can translate the Hebrew word havel is there's nothing there. It's meaningless. It's foolishness. And Solomon says, I chased all of these things down. When I reached the top of the staircase, when I opened the door, nothing there. Nothing there. So, but he goes through his tests with us, and he tries to find satisfaction through various things. And so only in God can we truly be satisfied, but there are some pleasures that try to pull us away from God, and the first one is entertainment. Right? The first one is entertainment, right? Like the high schooler or the college student. I want money so I can entertain myself, so I can have movies, so I can have music, so I can go to parties, so I can do all of these things. That's what I truly want. The text, verses 2 and 3, it says, I said of laughter. Whoops. I said about laughter, it is madness. And about pleasure, what does this accomplish? I explored with my mind how to let my body enjoy life with wine and how to grasp folly. My mind still guiding me with wisdom until I could see what is good for the people to do under heaven during the few days of their life. So Solomon says, look, our days are few. Let's just party. Let's eat, drink, tomorrow we die. Let's just have fun now. Solomon inherited the throne probably in his 20s. And so he had great amounts of wealth, a whole bunch of new friends, great amounts of power. And I see this as Solomon's like party phase. And Solomon partied. Right? He partied. There were comedians there. He had wine there. 1 Kings chapter 4, verses 22 and 23 say that Solomon's provisions for one day of party, like we think that we throw pretty big parties. Let's listen to Solomon's party. Solomon's provisions for one day were 150 bushels of fine flour, 300 bushels of meal, 10 fattened oxen, 20 range oxen, 100 sheep. And then he throws this in, besides deer, gazelles, roebucks, and pen-fed poultry. That's enough food to feed between 15 and 20,000 people. Right? Your Memorial Day barbecue tomorrow ain't looking so hot. Okay, that packet of Oscar Mayers and the case of Dr. Pepper, no. Right? So Solomon takes what we would experience in this lifestyle with the comedy and the laughter and the food and the gathering of the friends, and he does it better than anyone. 15 and 20,000 people a day. All you eat, it's a whole farm they're eating here. And on top of that, Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 8 says, I got singers, both men and women. Like, I didn't just have the DJ come out. I didn't just put together a mixtape. I bought the band. Right? The music there. He purchased the band. Like, I'm going down to the record store, and I'll buy the Rolling Stones. Like, just that's unthinkable. But that's what Solomon did. And so he's throwing these parties. He's having all of this fun, the comedy, the wine, the food, the music. Everything is there. And for some of us that are young, like, man, this is tempting. To be able to throw a party and have 20,000 friends come. And be able to feed them and to have entertainment and to bring in comedians and to have the food and the drink and just everything there, everything perfect. But Solomon writes in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 13, he says, even in laughter the heart may ache, and the end of joy may be grief. And no matter how great the party, no matter how fun the party, it's going to end. And my parents, we used to have company parties, and they would come over, and it was a lot of fun. And then as soon as they would leave, it was like a kid's worst nightmare because you have to clean. Right? Like the party doesn't last forever. There's going to come a moment where it ends, and you're going to be left there with the remnants of the party, and sometimes that's depressing. Well, that's very like, wow, it's over. All of the time, all the money, all the energy invested into this, and it's already over. Right? No one's life is ever changed at a party. Right? Solomon later in Ecclesiastes is going to write that it's better to go to a funeral than a party. Because no one goes into a party and says, man, my life was just changed in that moment. When the singer was singing, when the comedian was cracking jokes, when the wine was flowing and the food was being brought out, my life changed forever. And I'm such a better person now. Right? So Solomon looks at a party and says, what does this really do for me? He said, nothing. Havel, it's meaningless. And so he moves on to the next pursuit. Only in God can we truly be satisfied, but there are some pleasures that try to pull us away from God. And so Solomon goes to the next thing. If entertainment doesn't work, and so he goes to the next, which is projects. Right now, I just have to do something with my hands. I have to start working. And so Solomon starts his projects. Verses 4-6 said, I increased my achievements. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made gardens and parks for myself and planted every kind of fruit tree in them. I constructed reservoirs of water for myself from which to irrigate a grove of flourishing trees. And you start to look at this, and you start to look at the words that Solomon uses to describe what he did. He says, I increased my achievements, built houses, plural, planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted every kind of fruit tree. Right? He's doing these things in multiples. Saying one house is good, let's try building a couple houses. Right? Most of us will go out and we'll plant a garden in our yard. Solomon goes out and plants a park in his yard, right? And the ESV translates a grove of trees as a forest of trees, right? I planted a couple trees in my front yard, and I would be a fool to call that a forest. But that's what Solomon does. And so he starts doing all of these things, and he starts increasing his achievements. He starts building houses and planting vineyards. His house wasn't like our houses. It was a massive house, almost 5 stories tall, like 45 rooms, this massive mansion that he builds. And he starts building these parks and these gardens and forests, and he starts doing, and he has to create reservoirs of water to irrigate them. And it's not just turning on the sprinklers, it's building reservoirs to water these things. Even the queen of Sheba was impressed. And when she caught wind of what Solomon was doing and the things that he was accomplishing and the projects that he was undertaking, she did not believe it so much that she went and visited Solomon to see if it was true. And when she gets there, she looks at Solomon and says, the report I heard in my country about your works and about your wisdom is true. But I didn't believe the reports until I came and saw them with my own eyes. Indeed, I was not told half. Your wisdom and prosperity far exceed the reports I had heard. And so she goes to his kingdom and she sees the projects that he undertook. And she says, look, what I heard wasn't even half true. It was only the half of it. There was so much more that you accomplished. But Solomon, every time he'd build a house, every time he'd plant a garden, every time he would plant a park, there was still this, it's not quite enough. I need more, I need bigger, I need better. I need, to overlay more things with gold. So only in God can we be satisfied, but there are some pleasures that try to pull us from God. And they get us questioning, like, where else can I find pleasure? It's not in entertainment. It's not in projects. Maybe it's in wealth, right? If I get enough money, then I will be happy, right? If I could just get, to $100,000 in my bank account, then I'll be happy, right? You know what the person with $100,000 says? I want $200,000, right? And so he goes to money, and he tries to get money. Here's the verse. It says, I acquired male and female servants and had slaves who were born in my house. I also owned many herds of cattle and flocks. More than all were before me in Jerusalem. I also amassed silver and gold for myself and treasure of kings and providences. And so Solomon tries to gain wealth. 1 Kings chapter 10, verses 14 and 15 say the weight of gold that came to Solomon annually, every year was 25 tons, beside what came from merchants, traders, merchandise, and all the Arabian kings and governors of the land. So I don't know where he was getting this 25 tons, but it's not the money that came from the merchants, the traders' merchandise, the taxes, and from other kings and governors. He was getting 25 tons of gold annually on top of that. But the verse continues. It says King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold, and 15 pounds of gold went into each shield. He made 300 small shields of hammer gold. About 4 pounds of gold went into each of those shields. The king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon, his massive mansion. Ryan Parsons is in our high school ministry staff, and he is a brilliant math guy. And when I was talking about this to the high schoolers, he immediately wanted to see how much money that was worth, right? So how much money Solomon got. So a small gold shield, right? One small gold shield was worth $84,000 in today's dollars. $84,000. A large shield was worth $317,000. One of his large shields. And his annual gold income, right, on top of what came from the merchants, from the other kings, from the taxes, was $1,058,434,000 annually, just from that portion of his wealth. And we're not done yet. The king also made a large ivory throne and overlaid it with fine gold. The throne had 6 steps. There was a rounded top of the back of the throne, armrests on either side of the seat, and 2 lions standing beside the armrest. 12 lions were standing there on the 6 steps, one in each hand. Nothing like it had been ever made in any other kingdom. So his throne is just amazing, overlaid in fine gold. There's nothing like it. We're still not done. All of King Solomon's drinking cups were gold, and all the utensils of the house of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. There was no silver, since it was considered as nothing in Solomon's time, for the king had ships of Tarshish at sea with Hiram's fleet. And once every 3 years, the ships of Tarshish would arrive bearing gold, silver, ivory, here's my favorite, apes and peacocks. Right, so that's Solomon's wealth, right? And it goes on. You can read in your own Bible. There's more, but he has this. He has all of his utensils, all of his cups were made of pure gold. He had shipments coming in every 3 years with more gold and more riches and peacocks. Right, he had all of these things coming into him. He had so much wealth that he had built up for himself. Right, and it just keep adding and keep adding and keep adding, just a little bit more, and we get caught up in this too, don't we? Thinking if I could just have a little bit more money, then I would be happy. Right? I'm having to shop for a new car because someone ran a red light and totaled mine. And as I'm looking through like the used car prices, it keeps coming back to me. If I just had a little bit more, then I would get this car. But I have to know my heart and know that if I got a little bit more, that if I just had a little bit more. And pretty soon I'm like, if I just had a little bit more, then I could get the Lamborghini. Just a little bit more, right? Trade in the Corolla for the Lamborghini. Just a little bit more. And that's what happens, right? In our jobs, we get tempted with this. Not my job. I'm totally satisfied. Right, but you talk to one of the college students, right, and they want jobs, they want money. They think if I could have that, then I would be satisfied, right? They would, if you wanted to pay them minimum wage on a part-time basis to count the grains of salt in your salt shaker, like they would take it, but not for long. Because I want something more. That's not enough. I want something more. They'd want a job that's able to give them just a little bit more than minimum wage. And then they want a job with vacation time, and then one with a better title, and then one with medical benefits, and then a retirement package, and just keeps adding more and more and more. And our foolish hearts are never satisfied with what we have under the sun. Never satisfied. Rockefeller, very, very wealthy man, is famous for when he was asked how much money is enough. He was doing all these investments and trying to get more money, and his famous response is just a little bit more. And you get wrapped up in this, thinking that if I could just get more of this, then I would be happy. As if somehow money produces satisfaction and gives it to you, right? This inanimate object, this piece of paper, somehow that piece of paper radically fills the hole in your heart, that eternal longing that we have. Somehow paper fills that. It's foolishness. And so Solomon, as he gets all of this wealth, recognizes that it's all meaningless and it doesn't do anything. And later on in Ecclesiastes, he's going to talk about, look, I can amass a fortune here, but when I die, it stays here. And so at most, I can keep my wealth for 80 years. And then someone who did not work as hard as me, who was not as smart as me, who was not as gifted as I am, is going to take it. And they're going to waste it. And it's going to be gone. Death is the great equalizer. If you die with $1 in your bank account or you die with $1 million in your bank account, both people are going to die and go back to zero. They ain't taking anything with them. And so Solomon recognizes that and says, look, if I can't take it with me, if it doesn't give me satisfaction, then it's meaningless. And what is the point of chasing it? And so he's going to go to the next thing, right? We're only satisfied in God, but there are some things that try to pull us away from God, and we try to find satisfaction in those things. It's not in entertainment. It's not in projects. It's not in wealth. It has to be in relationships. Right? This happens in movies where you have a rich guy who has everything and he's on top of the world. He's a powerful businessman. He's a playboy having fun, going out there. And towards the end of the movie, he recognizes that it's all nothing if I don't have you to share it with. Right? We've seen this movie 1,000 times. Right? Every year there's a movie that comes with the same storyline. I need relationships. I need someone to share this with. And so Solomon does it. He gets relationships. He doesn't just get one wife. Ecclesiastes 2:8 says he got many concubines, the delights of men. And so the sexual pleasure, Solomon was all about that. 1 Kings 11:3 says he had 700 wives. This isn't just like your average wife, though. It says 700 wives, and some of them were princesses. And on top of that, he had 300 concubines. There's 1,000 women here. Right? Taking that if I could just get a little bit more, if one wife is good, then 2 wives is better, and 3 wives, and 4 wives, and 1,000. It goes on and on. The self-indulgence of Solomon was ridiculous. But it doesn't last. It says in 1 Kings 11:3 that the wives turned away his heart. They didn't do anything for him. They couldn't fill that hole. Right? I love my wife to death, but she is a terrible God. Right? She cannot fill that heart. If I go into marriage expecting Rachel to fill that void in my heart that God has left there, that eternal void, and I expect, hey, Rachel, I need you to be my God. I need you to be my Savior. I'd have a very disappointing relationship with my wife. Right? Because every time she would hurt me, every time she would do something that I didn't like, there would just be this, you're my God and you let me down. Right? Our relationship is great because I understand that she can't fill that. That only God can fill that. And my wife is a blessing from God. And so Solomon kept looking to wives for satisfaction, but of course he was never able to find them. And so we go and he's doing everything now, entertainment, projects, wealth, looking for that satisfaction. Of course it's not there. He wraps it up in verses 9 through 11, saying, "So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. My wisdom also remained with me. All that my eyes desired, I did not deny them. I did not refuse myself any pleasure, for I took pleasure in all my struggles. This is the reward for all my struggles. When I considered that I had accomplished, and when I consider all that I had accomplished and what I had labored to achieve, I found everything to be futile and a pursuit of the wind. There was nothing to be gained under the sun." So he gets all of these things, and as we go through the list, and as we list off the things that King Solomon had, there has to be a little bit of jealousy in some of us, thinking, well, if I had that much money, I would be satisfied. Or if I had that nice of a house, then I would be satisfied. Or if I had, that many relationships, I would be satisfied. The reality is, Solomon writes from the top of the staircase, when he opens the door and said, it's all meaningless. There's nothing here to hold on to. It has been chasing the wind the entire time. And so that should change how we view our lives and our pursuits. Right? Are we tempted to think that if I just get a little bit more, then I would be satisfied? If I could just have a little bit more wealth, then I would be satisfied. I've got to just trade up my girlfriend, just a newer model, then I would be satisfied. If I could just get a little bit bigger of a house, then I would be satisfied. King Solomon says no. And so what's the key to this? Solomon says there's nothing to be gained under the sun. And of course that hints that there is something to be gained above the sun. And that's the key. God is the key. We can't look for satisfaction to come from these pleasures, right? We can't look for satisfaction to come from the wealth and from the relationships and from the entertainment and from all of us. We can't look for satisfaction to be manifested in those objects and given to us. It's not how it works. But we have to realize that satisfaction is a gift from God. Satisfaction is a gift from Him. He's the one that gives us satisfaction. The new car does not give you satisfaction that is lasting. Sure, it may be temporary, it may whet the appetite and may leave you craving more, but it does not give you that true satisfaction that we need. True satisfaction is not found in my wife. It's found in God. She can't give that to me. God can. God can. And of course, when we have this understanding that satisfaction only comes from God, that changes how we view entertainment, how we view projects, how we view wealth, and how we view relationships, because none of those things are sin. Right? Solomon's, 700 wives and 300 concubines. We might call that sin. But none of those things are, it's not a sin to throw a party. It's not a sin to work. It's not a sin to have money. It's not a sin to have relationships. But it's how we view those things that gets us in trouble. John 15:11 says, I have spoken these things to you so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. So instead of looking to entertainment, look to Christ, and in Him we find joy. In Him is our enjoyment, not in parties, not in food. Projects, right? There are many proverbs that tell us that there's great reward in hard work if it's done the proper way for the glory of God. That becomes rewarding and it's a joy. Wealth. 1 Timothy 6:17 says, instruct those who are rich in the present age not to be arrogant or set their hope on the uncertainty of wealth, but on God, who richly provides us with all things to enjoy. Right? We can't look to money to bring us satisfaction. We have to look to God who provides us with the money. And whether He provides us with $1 or $1 million, we will be satisfied if we are satisfied in Him. Relationships. Marriage and relationships are so much more when you understand that it is an illustration of Christ's relationship with the church. And when you understand that about relationship and the beauty of relationship and how God works in relationship and the story of grace and freedom in that relationship, it becomes so much better. So much better. My relationship with my wife is great because we are satisfied in God. So the key of each and every one of these areas, and I'm closing with this, is to be satisfied in God, making sure that we're not looking to those pleasures for satisfaction, but that our souls are longing for God. Right? Not longing for money, not longing for projects, not longing for entertainment, and not longing for relationships, but longing for God. And when we long for God, we are satisfied. We are satisfied. Jesus tells the woman at the well, it says, come to me and you will thirst no more. I will give you everything you need. You will be satisfied. 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do everything for God's glory. And this is important that we understand this. That whatever we're doing, we have to make sure that we're doing it for God's glory. And this is one of the verses that always confused me. Right? How do I drink orange juice for the glory of God? How do I wake up and go to school for the glory of God? How do I drive my car for the glory of God? How do I do all of these things in life for the glory of God? And how we do it is a quote by John Piper, and it says, God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. So we bring God glory when we are satisfied in him. Not just satisfied in the things that he is giving us, but satisfied in him. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much that you've given us more than we could ever imagine. Thank you that when we come to you, we will thirst no more. Thank you that for giving us the things on this earth to whet our appetites for something that is eternal and something that is greater. God, we want to set our hopes fully in you. God, we want our satisfaction to come only from you. And so, God, help us understand that you are so much better than what the world has to offer. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.